Hey flutes! Today we're discussing 3 common mistakes intermediate flutists might be making that's holding them back from advancing. You may be experiencing some of these or all of these, so stay tuned to see how this video can help you. With each tip I give, we will play an exercise to go along with it, so have your flute out ready to play with me. Number 1 is incorrect fingerings, or the lack of knowledge of alternate fingerings that can help us play smoother passages, especially the faster we get with our notes. By the time I reached intermediate level playing, I already knew all 12 major scales. If you don't know your 12 major scales already, stay tuned to this channel. For the next 12 weeks, I will be providing 3 lessons a week focused on each scale a week. By the end of the 12 weeks, you should have all 12 scales memorized. This is important. It's important for us to know our 12 major scales, and once we know them, our life can become a lot easier because then we can focus on more advanced things like technique, tonguing, embouchure, tone, and all of those things. The fingerings that we will be covering today are basic ones, but also there are some fingerings for the upper register notes that you will be playing as you continue to learn your 12 major scales. The first one we're going to learn is the second register D and E flat. Many times in the last few years when I was teaching in the classroom, during my time in the classroom, I was hearing these mistakes commonly, but I was also hearing them a lot as I would go out and judge for competitions and chair placements. And these can hold you back. If you're pressing the incorrect fingerings, it produces the incorrect sound. So it's important that we build the right habits and we play the right fingerings for these notes. So for D and E flat in the second register, it's important that you're playing it this way, and be sure that you're not playing it this way. Hopefully you notice the difference between the two pictures, and it's that first pointer finger. The correct way is our pointer finger should be up. The incorrect way in the second picture that you see is that the pointer finger is down. So it looks like this. The correct way is pointer finger up. A lot of times I see this. It does still sound like a D or an E flat, but it's not the correct sound. And for demonstration, hopefully you can hear the difference when I'm playing. When the finger's down, it has a more covered sound. So be sure that you're always playing it with a finger up. Let's go ahead and play an exercise today where we can practice picking our finger up anytime we see a D or an E flat. For the exercise today, this is what we're playing. And if you notice, I have all of the D's and E flats circled. Those are the ones that you need to be sure you're lifting your finger when you play. Okay, let's play this exercise. Now, as you're playing this exercise, the most important thing you should be focused on is lifting that first finger anytime you see D or E flat. So I wrote the exercise simple so that hopefully it will help you focus only on lifting your finger on D and E flat. Let's play together. 1, 2, ready, play. Moving on to our second fingering. If you are playing in the third register, which will happen more as you continue to learn your major scales, you will sometimes play F sharp. F sharp is not the most pleasant note on the flute, but especially if you're pressing the wrong fingering. And for that one, it's the thumb B flat. If you don't know what thumb B flat is, it's this extra key that's on top of the key that you press with your left thumb. So when we say thumb B flat, we're talking about this top key. A lot of times, especially once you learn how to use this key, it can be easy to make it a habit to where we're always pressing this key, but then when you reach notes like F sharp in the third register, it sounds awful. So to demonstrate, I will play an F sharp regular, so pressing just this, and then I'll play it with this so you can hear the sound difference. so it can make it easier to crack. And as you see, even when I played it, I was actually not hitting the pitch sometimes. It doesn't sound pretty. I already hate the F sharp in the third register, but that makes it even worse. So be sure that when you're playing F sharp in the third register, you're always keeping the thumb B flat key open, only pressing the left key. We're in the key of B flat today, so let's go ahead and play our B flat major scale. 1, 2, ready, play. Let's play an exercise. 1, 2, ready, play. So that exercise was still in the key of B flat. I just put in some accidentals where the F's were so that we could practice playing that F sharp in a key where we might be pressing the thumb B flat. The last fingering we'll be discussing is the thumb B flat. If you don't already know, this is an alternate fingering, and it can be so helpful when you're playing those fast passages, especially the faster you get with your notes. As I mentioned when we were talking about the F sharp, the thumb B flat is the key on top of the key that we press with our left thumb. So you can replace the normal B flat with this, which means that when you're playing thumb B flat, you don't have to press this key down. I call it finger 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So finger 4, you don't have to press down when you're playing thumb B flat. And that helps just eliminate one extra finger, so it makes smooth passages the faster you play. So for an example, I'll play regular B flat and thumb B flat. Now, if you're in my situation, I actually have an air leak on my flute right now, and it's actually affecting the regular B flat. So almost 99% of the time right now, I am playing with my thumb B flat anytime I have a B flat written for that reason. So that's also another reason why it's important to know alternate fingerings. So if one's not working because of an air leak and you're about to go into a performance or into a competition, you know that you can have some alternate fingerings to help you out. Now, it does take time to practice being able to switch back and forth. So if you've prepared a piece and you've played it with this key, it is a little bit harder to change the habit and change it to this. So it may be good to be prepared for both. The other alternate B flat is this one right here. So it's right next to finger 4. It's this little extra key right here. I use this one a lot too to help me right now with my air leak. And same thing. You don't have to press this finger 4 when you're pressing this down. So it sounds like this. So if you can tell the difference when I'm playing it and then I'm switching over, you probably can't hear a difference, but you can hopefully see when my finger switches over that I'm not pressing finger 4 down on this key. For the sake of our exercise today, this is the more common alternate thumb B flat. So let's go ahead and practice with this passage using this thumb B flat. So same thing, I wrote a simple exercise, so hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to focus on playing thumb B flat and not playing this. If you've been doing this for many years, it might take a little while for you to get used to this. So you may need to rewind this and play it a few times, or come back to this video throughout the week and play this passage, or find something in your own musical library that has a B flat where you can be aware and you can practice that until it becomes an easy habit that you don't have to think of. For today, let's replace all B flats in this passage with this B flat. 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, those are the three main fingerings that we will go over today. So we're moving on to our second common mistake, which is tongue placement and embouchure. If you're like me, you've never had any private lessons. For me, when I was an intermediate musician, I had no private lessons. I didn't start getting private lessons until I was in college. I majored in music, so part of that degree required getting private lessons from your flute professor. Unfortunately, I chose to march in the college marching band with a brass instrument. So I added a lot of extra stress and tension on my throat and my embouchure that was already unnecessary, but even worse in my case because I grew up playing with a tense embouchure and a tense throat. So it's taken lots of years to work on my embouchure, and I still work on it every single day. So here are some things that I did all through college and I continue to do. Number one, keep the back of your tongue down. I tend to naturally play with my tongue high in my mouth, so then it's not allowing that resonance inside my mouth, which can harm my tone. The next thing is play relaxed and open. This is something that has always been said to me, and even the analogy of pretend like you're yawning when you're playing was given to me, but it didn't quite click. And I never understood because every other flute player around me, as soon as that was said to them, it registered with them and they were able to play it. For me, it took a little bit more work than that. And then the last thing is keep your lips off your teeth. When I did march that brass instrument, I was always really tense and had my lips close to my teeth. So I had to retrain myself to push my lips forward, and that helps just open up and create more resonance in my mouth. So here are some things that I do to help me understand those three things. One is harmonics. In just a moment, we'll go over those harmonics. These exercises helped me to retrain to center my aperture more, which is the opening within your whole embouchure. That's where you want your air to go. So you don't want your air to spread. So I had to train my lips to push forward, which closed my aperture a little bit more, and it made it more centered rather than spread out. It also trained my muscles. I was using a lot of these muscles that you use as a brass player and not so much of these muscles. And I'm still working on it every day, like I said, even as an adult musician. I am working on training these muscles better and relaxing in this area. The second thing that helped me was singing while playing, or I wouldn't necessarily say that it was singing, but making a sound with my voice while playing. So whatever I'm playing, whether it's a scale, I will hum the first note of that scale, and I'll continue humming it as I play the notes within the scale. Or when I'm playing my harmonics, I will hum the first note of the harmonic, and then I will work my harmonics up and back down while maintaining that sound with my voice. So it opens up, it forces me to relax. And by putting my harmonics and my voice together, it really helps me combine the two. Something I noticed as I continued learning and growing as a musician was that it was almost like I could get my lip flexibility down with my harmonics, and I could get my relaxed throat with singing, but then as soon as I went to play, I would only be able to do one or the other. And that's still something I have to be aware of. So it's something I focused on together by combining the two exercises together. Harmonics is where you play the first note, the fingering of the first note. So we will start with D, first register D, which is first finger down on this one. And you will continue playing this fingering, but you will stretch your lips out and you will make the pitches above it. And those are certain pitches. So for D, you're gonna play D. Then you're going to stretch your lips forward to change the angle of your air a little bit, and it will push your pitch up to the second register D. And then you'll do the same thing up to A, and then we will just finish on D above the staff and work our way back down. And the big goal here is to be sure that you are not using all of your air to change the pitch, but you're using your lips. So you really want to focus on trying to stretch your lips forward to change the air, the angle of your air. One thing I've heard before is that when you're playing the lower register, you want to think of playing like at a 90 degree. When you're playing that second register notes, like within the staff, you want to think of your pitch going more at a 45. And then when you play the upper register, you want it to be a 90 degree angle again. And you really don't want to overdo it and go too high because then it kind of closes off your sound. So if you can think 90, 45, 90 on those angles, that can also help. And that's what you're doing when you're stretching those lips with the harmonics. So let's try it on D. So again, you're stretching those lips to try to get the air to change, angles, and you want to think about that. You want to think about, where is my air going when I stretch my lips up? When I stretch my lips forward, my air is going to naturally go up. When I relax and bring my lips closer to my teeth, that's when the angle starts to go down. Let's move up to the E flat and do the same thing. E natural. And we'll finish on F. If you do that every day, your tone will improve naturally. Even doing it every day and not knowing exactly what you're looking for will still help you. I remember when I first started doing this, my lips were quivering in the center because those were muscles I never used. I always use these outer muscles. And I was like, what is going on? And my flute professor told me that's correct, because I had to train those muscles. Just as if you were doing push-ups, you have to train your arms to be able to handle a certain number of push-ups. So I had to do the same thing. I had to train my muscles around my aperture. And so it did shake for a little while until I built that muscles up. So I did it every single day. So if you do this, you will improve. And then as you continue to do it, you'll start to learn to know what to look for and what to listen for as well. Now, if you're singing, like I said, I'm not really singing. I'm just making a sound with my voice, trying to match the pitch of whatever note I'm playing. And then you want to try to keep that going while you are putting air into the flute to make a sound. So it really makes you use more air than you realized. You may realize from doing that you're not using enough air support for your flute. So let's try it on B flat. And we'll play the pitch. Then we'll try to sing and play at the same time. Okay, let's sing that pitch. So what I did is I played that third line B flat, and then I sang that pitch and started on that same note, and then I stretched my lips up while continuing to use my voice. I stretched my lips forward to make the pitch go up to the octave above B flat. So if you do that, it will really make you aware of how much air you're using or lack of. And it will also help make sure that you're stretching your lips to get the right air, the right angle in the air, while also continuing to be relaxed in the throat and gaining that breath support. Another exercise that you can use to help you with that breath support is who's. And what I mean by who's is, maybe even as a beginner musician, you may have done this naturally, but it's like playing the note without using your tongue. Now, it's not just doing it lazily. You have to actually put force behind it. So I think about, like for me, I hate bugs. So if I ever have like a bug coming towards me or like on a chair or something, I really want to use a lot of force with my air to blow the bug away. I don't even want to touch the bug. So it's a lot of force within your stomach, and you're pushing that force in short bursts. Another thing you can think of is like blowing on a piece of paper. You just want to make sure that it's short, fast bursts of air. So it would be like this. And when you're doing it, you should feel your stomach push in. It's super fast air all at once. And if you do that on every single note of an exercise, You train your stomach to really build that breath support that you need. And for me growing up, I really took advantage of how easy it is to play flute without any breath support. But without that breath support, it makes a big difference in your sound. So we'll play this piece first, and then we're going to actually subdivide all of the measures down to the 8th note. And that's when we'll do the who's. So first, just play this piece as written with me. 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, now we're going to play the same piece, but it's going to be subdivided. So every single measure is going to be played as 8th notes. Now I brought the tempo down on this to tempo 60 because I really want you to make sure you're focusing on not the notes, but instead what is your air doing? Are you really pushing with that short burst of air every single note? Don't use your tongue. And when you do this, make sure you're keeping your tongue down so you can really get that air out. So let's try this exercise together. 1, 2, ready, play. Now you don't have to have any special exercise or anything like that to do this exercise. The biggest thing is if you're doing this every day in your warm-up, you're going to build that breath support to the point that it becomes more second nature to you. You don't have to focus on it as much. So do it every day along with all of these other exercises. And you don't have to do it to this. You can do it to any major scale, or if you've got a piece you're working on, break it down to the smallest rhythm in that piece and apply these who's to it at a slow tempo, and you'll really build that muscle support that you need. You will probably for a while feel a little sore if you do it every single day, and that's good. That means you're building those muscles within your stomach to have that breath support that you need. The last tip that we're going to go over today is your hand position. And the biggest thing I would say is, in my opinion, the left hand is the most important. It really is what helps create the most sturdy balance when playing the flute, that allows you to have fast fingers and keeps it from rolling out of your hand or moving around a lot on your lip and messing up your embouchure. So if you look at a lot of famous musicians, they pretty much all have the same thing in common, and that's that their left hand, their wrist, is kind of tucked underneath their flute. You can really see that support. And some things that my flute professor did to help me with this is, the first thing you want to do is make sure that with your pointer finger, you're pinching, kind of like squishing underneath the flute. So this part of your finger should be in line with the first key that you press. That's the first thing that's going to help you have that sturdy hold on your flute to keep it from moving around. And then you want to make sure that your wrist is bent to where a lot of the weight of the flute is falling into the hand. So before I went to college, all through my school years, 5th grade all the way to 12th grade, I was playing like this. And it doesn't even feel natural to me anymore. But when I first started retraining my hand to play correctly, it felt unnatural. Now this is what feels natural, not this. And I was able to play so much faster and so much cleaner once I trained myself to do this. So some things that you can do to make sure that you're holding it correctly is you can just with your left hand hold it just like this. So you want to make sure that it's in line with your arm. And then all you're going to do, nothing else, bend your wrist. That's the first thing you want to do. So it's in line with your arm, and then all you're going to do is bend your wrist. If you notice, none of this moved. Watch again. It's in line with your arm, bend the wrist. So all of this stays the same. It's all about letting the weight fall in your hand and squishing with that pointer finger to really build that sturdy support. And then another thing that you can do to make it as natural as possible and to keep from any pain, unnecessary pain happening. This is another thing that I love that my flute professor taught me, was to first start like you're playing the clarinet. And you have to, if you're sitting down like I am, you have to be straddled on the corner of your chair, the right corner, because that's going to allow you to have the correct angle that you need. So you want to hold your flute like a clarinet. Then you want to come up to like if you were a trumpet player. Then all you're going to do is turn your head facing your music stand or the front of wherever you're playing, wherever your music is. And then all you're going to do, and if you see my left wrist is already bent, so that's already given that natural position, then you're just going to turn your head and bring the head joint to your face. And that allows you to have that nice angle so that you're not stressing way back here, and then this arm can't stretch very well. So if you have that angle, it allows this part right here to be a little bit easier. So let's go back to our who's exercise, playing at tempo 80. But now let's make sure that we're focusing on playing with that bent wrist. 1, 2, ready, play. Like I mentioned earlier, the next 12 weeks, I will be posting 3 videos a week, all focused on one scale a week. And in 12 weeks, we should have our 12 major scales memorized. Be sure to come back and join me each lesson of each week. So 3 times each week. That's not what I normally do. So be sure you come and join me for the next 12 weeks and let's get our 12 major scales memorized. Let me know how I can better serve you in the future.